Welcome again, everyone. And we are going to start this evening with a wonderful group that we have assembled here who will be responding to what we just saw. And I think that this panel has its work cut out for it because whereas most of the other panels, the texts are pre-circulated, you have the honor of having a text that was not pre-circulated. So without further ado, I will just read, I think I'll just read these bios for you very quickly and then let you all get to it. So our first speaker to my left is Tsitsi Jaji, who is an assistant professor of English at the University of Pennsylvania. She earned her PhD in comparative literature from Cornell with a concentration in African, Caribbean, and African American literature in English, French, and Spanish. Her book, Africa in Stereo, traces Ghanaian, Senegalese, and South African responses to African American music in print and film. It is under contract with Oxford University Press. Her research interests continue to be transnational Black cultural relations and exchanges, the relationship between music and literature, theorizations of listening, and Africana expressions of feminism. Maza Mentuse was born in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and graduated with an MFA in creative writing from New York University. Her work appeared in the New York Times, BBC Radio 4, the Granta Anthology of the African Short Story, and Lettres Internationales, to name a few. She is a Fulbright Scholar who has also received fellowships from the Emily Harvey Foundation, the Virginia Center for Creative Arts, the Prague Summer Program, and Yaddo. Her debut novel, the critically acclaimed Beneath the Lion's Gaze, has been translated into several languages and appeared on several best of 2010 lists, including Publishers Weekly, Christian Science Monitor, and Barnes & Noble. She was the runner-up for the 2011 Dayton Literary Prize, as well as a finalist for a Flaherty Dunham First Novel Prize, an NAACP Image Award, and an Indies Choice Book of the Year in Adult Debut. She teaches at NYU and lives in New York City. Greg Pardlow. Greg Pardlow is a graduate of Rutgers University, Camden. As an undergraduate, he managed the small business his grandfather owned in nearby Pennsauken, New Jersey, the Serengeti Cafe and the Jazz Club. He received an MFA from New York University as a New York Times Fellow in Poetry in 2001. He was the author of Totem, winner of the 2007 APR Honigman Prize, chosen by Brenda Hillman, among others. He has received fellowships from the New York Foundation for the Arts, the Cave Canem Foundation, the McDowell Connolly, the Seaside Institute, the Lotus Club Foundation, and a translation grant from the National Endowment of the Arts. He currently serves as poetry book review editor of Callaloo. He divides his time between Washington, D.C., Brooklyn, where he and his family care for an old house in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood. And you have a lot of family quite nearby, too, here, right here. Jay Jenkins is a professor at the Mason Grove School of the Arts at Rutgers University. Jay Jenkins, this is an abridged version of your bio. Jay Jenkins is trained as a musician in piano, trumpet, and voice, as well as the creator of the jazz funk style. JT has developed a choreographic movement vocabulary that combines classical and stylized jazz, modern tap and funk hip-hop, and named it Jazz Funk. He choreographs and feature films, industrials, music videos, and recording artist concert tours. He has worked with Prince, Salt and Pepper, Kool Moe Dee, Cyndi Lauper, Jennifer Lopez, Color Me Bad, and many others. Probably the only time in my academic career I'll be able to introduce someone that's worked with all those people, so thank you. Currently, he is one of the choreographers for the new Electric Company. He has taught in Egypt, Malaysia, Moscow, Cyprus. He's also taught for the country's New Arts Council, and he teaches for the Joffrey Ballet in New York and Miami. His in-depth knowledge of classic jazz, musical theater, and as one of the creators of hip-hop have allowed him to teach and choreograph in all different venues, from the classroom to the concert stage, from the studio to the sound stage. And finally, Ifa Baeza is an award-winning playwright, producer, and conceptual theater artist. She has received numerous honors for the Ballad of Emmett Till, including an Artist in Residence Fellowship from Brown University's Brights and Reason Theater and the Providence Black Repertoire Theater. The inaugural fellowship for the Ellen Stone Bell Found Institute for the Study of Women and Gender in Media Arts at Columbia College in association with the Goodman Theater, and a fellowship at the Eugene O'Neill Theater's 2007 National Playwrights Conference. Ms. Baeza is the co-founder of BBA Studios, doing business artistically, creating innovative theater-based work to encourage dialogue among races, cultures, and people. The company's premier youth audience initiative, Ms. Baeza's hip-hop musical Kid Zero, with music by Harvey Mason, has been seen in more than 12,000 public school students in Chicago, St. Louis, and New York. Ms. Baeza served as the original dramaturg and set designer for her sister Ntozake Shange's landmark production of For Colored Girls Who Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, and at the New York Federal Theater and the Public Theater. So, thank you very much. And just for myself, I can say in terms of what really touched me about this piece is we talk a lot about the aesthetics of love and the politics of love, and we're going to continue to really reflect on that during our time here. And I had a conversation with someone, with Tracy West actually earlier this year, and we were talking about violence in relation to love and how there did seem to be an absence of that. And so seeing this powerful juxtaposition in terms of how the words and the movement were really captured by this idea of the opposite of love, right? And, you know, how do we talk, you know, Ifa, you know, when we work with young girls, I work with young girls in Chicago too, and we tell them, you know, love isn't supposed to hurt, and we tell them what the opposite of love is, right? And so seeing literally visually what that opposite is was just very moving for me in terms of the movement that I observed. So I will let the rest of you.
On that note.
Oh, thank you.
Really quick, if you don't mind, I'd like the performers to introduce themselves. I would introduce you, but you're all such wonderful artists. I'll preface it, and then if you take it from there, I'll appreciate it. This is Diane Harvey, a wonderful artist who's done so many things with an incredible body of work, modern jazz, ballet, ethnic, everything. And African, and it's combined it in such a way that it's truly your own signature. She works with her husband, Abdel Salam. Together they have forged a dance company called Forces of Nature. And over the 30-year history of the company has evolved into messages about the human condition. So, please pick it up from there.
Oh, back on, okay. Yeah, our mission is to empower our audiences and to make people aware of our home, the planet, and that we have a responsibility to keep our home, keep it. Okay, so that's Walter gave you my story, so I'm going to turn it over to my sister, who I have known for many years, many lifetimes. We met at the Ailey School when we were both youngsters. So this is Sarita Allen.
Sarita Allen, if you don't mind me blowing your horn for a moment. Other than being my wife in this piece and having the wonderful occasion to make love to you for the last 2 weeks, every day in the studio, Sarita Allen is an extremely accomplished artist. She joined the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater and was fortunate enough to work with Alvin Ailey. He choreographed at least 7 different roles on Miss Allen, including classics, Night Creature, part of the wonderful Salute to Ellington. She went on after her experience with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to develop her own choreographic skills. She's choreographed Aida for the national tour.
And international as well.
Well, thank you, my darling. So now just take it from there, please.
Well, they said everything. I'm just so happy to be here. and Dudley and myself, we performed many times with the Ailey Company in Princeton. So I'm very happy that we were invited here, and I feel very blessed to have, as Diane said, it's just amazing how things work out. We really did start together our careers. We were full on scholarship at the Ailey Studio, but we maintained and we kept our friendship, and we're still dancing to this day. And Dudley and Williams, we traveled the world together for I won't say how many years. So it's amazing to have this reunion. All of our amazing people. So I will turn this over to Dudley Williams.
Dudley Williams is, out of the four of us, Dudley Williams is the original cast member for this work. This is an excerpt from a larger work. The entire work is 70 minutes long. And these sections are interspersed throughout. So there are 5 different stories being told at the same time about people who are evolving in this neighborhood. Dudley Williams began his professional career with the Martha Graham Company. From there in 1964, just barely out of the cradle and he was just able to walk, he started to work he became a member of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, where he worked, well, a Graham credit, that is. But he worked there for 40 years, and 41 years. And one of the saddest days in the Ailey Company is when Dudley decided that it was time for him to explore other options and do other things. And that was around the time that Dudley and I approached Dudley to do this work, and people said to me, "You're going to get Dudley Williams? You're going to get Dudley Williams?" And I had, it's awful because I had grown up seeing you do whatever you do. I hate when people say Dudley Williams to me. It makes you feel fine when you do something. But anyway, when I had seen so much of Dudley over his career, everything from love songs, which Alvin Ailey created especially for him, to signature I Want to Be Ready and Revelations, which wasn't choreographed for him, but he became the standard bearer for that, among other things. And when we first met, the most endearing quality about him at that time was he was a dancer who had line and lyricism, which at the time was a new thing for black male dancers. So I always spoke to him, I referred to him as the Black Anthony Dow, who was the principal of the Royal Ballet for White Line. So Dudley, after that, and just so I don't get lost in the shuffle, because my partner Sheila Rohan says, "You never talk about yourself." So just really quickly, my name is Walter Rutledge, and I was always a choreographer. And it was a point that when I was at the Harkness House, they said, "Well, we know you're a choreographer." I was about 15. They said, "But you have to learn how to dance." And so you know what it's like. And that was a very true statement. And so I went on and forged a career, went to college, and then decided that I still wanted to choreograph, and went back to the Harkness and did things. And then, as I said, I met out of fluke through a friend. I met Nanette Bearden, and she gave me the opportunity to choreograph, and then really became my second patron after Rebecca Harkness. She financed what I wanted to do, which is so dimension, and to have it happen in the African American world, and with such style, and it was gratifying to say this. And then to be in the presence of her genius, and then her husband's genius, Romare. And it's as important as choreographing was, there was nothing more enlightening than to have a Sunday brunch at the Ned and Rome's house, where at any moment, who knew who else was going to walk through the door. And if you were smart, you just pretend you were a fly on the wall and suck it all in and just soak all of that richness up. So this is my fabulous cast, and I have to mention my Sheila, please stand up. The people behind the scenes never get to talk about it. Sheila Rohan was one of the reasons I had a great opportunity with the Bearden Company. She was an original member of Dance Theater Harlem. When I met her with the Bearden Company, she didn't know any better. She was going to stop dancing. We partnered together and ended up dancing for about 7 or 8 more years. Our first performance, she said, "Well, I'm retiring after this. Not going to work anymore." And we had a great performance, and then luckily for me, she tolerated whatever was going on and danced with me for about another 7 years, and then her sister passed away in 1997, and the company kind of went into a hiatus for a few years. And then around